Alright, go ahead.
Alright, I'm Ziliak. This is Mr. Furiak. This is a video about Spec in review. He is in charge of Spec, so we're going to review his first year. How do you think your first year in charge of Spec went?
I think it went pretty well. I learned some things and definitely won't make the same mistakes again next year, albeit they were relatively minor, but it seems that the administration was happy with it, and I've heard some good comments.
And one of the comments that I hear a lot is we got away with a lot more stuff like that wouldn't have flown last year. Like I know Holy Grail, our Spec, we got away with a lot of stuff that was deemed a little inappropriate.
Well, I think that Spec has a tradition of being a little irreverent, and I suppose everyone has a different approach to these sorts of things, and it's part of my job to strike a balance between allowing, encouraging creativity and remaining appropriate, but overall, I don't think that anyone was, I haven't heard of anyone being, profoundly offended by some of the things. They were borderline, but, that's that balance between creativity and decorum.
If you could change one thing about what you did at the very early stages, like before cuts and just call-outs, would you do anything different in that stage?
Oh yeah, I totally missed the sophomore interactions last year because I got on board so late. But this year we're planning to do a promotional video. I'll certainly be talking to you about that.
All right.
And play it in sophomore homerooms in March, right before spring break. I will also do some more workshopping before we leave in the spring. Many of my students have suggested some Spec videos from the 80s and 90s that they think are really good, and share those with our sophomores to inspire them to kind of blow the thing up and be creative in their own right.
So now that the floodgates have kind of opened for risque humor, do you think next year will be like a backlash from that and just too much inappropriate stuff, or do you think people find their footing, know what's offensive, and know what we're going to be allowed to keep? I think you're going to handle that.
Boy, you're really scaring me with this floodgate thing.
Sorry.
I know that it's different than what the previous coordinator did.
Mr. Doc Miller.
Doc Miller, and I know it's different. And you learn as you go. So that's part of my job. And I think that, we discussed I discussed with my seniors, my math topic students, about some of the jokes that they found push some boundaries. And in my opinion, a few of them were, you had to be 2 degrees of separation away from turning this into something inappropriate. So you can't always be responsible for how people are going to make those connections. Indeed, I think I have, I'll just keep an eye on it and say, and I have this year with a few, no, not doing that, not doing that,
Yeah, we had some.
Yeah. So that's part, I don't think people should do it to, gratuitously, but it's just part of your nature, your adolescence. You're wired to try to push the boundaries.
So before you took over, did Doc say anything to you, give you any advice?
Not a lot of advice. He left me with all the materials that he used, and over the summer I navigated through what I could to make sense about how to put it all together. And he offered his help at any time. I'm the kind of person who has to learn by doing. And so there were a few things that I had to do at the last minute because I didn't anticipate them coming, and then next year, of course, I won't make those decisions. But he gave me all the support that I would need to get going. And Mrs. Payne who's the administrator in charge, is very, very helpful and very collaborative. I enjoy working with her.
So are you excited for next year's Spec?
Oh, I am. It's just, not only do I want to diversify the players and the authors, I want to diversify the content. And, you know, going back to some of the videos of Specs in previous decades, I think will help us maybe revisit some of the elements and traditions that in the recent decade or so have, you know, been sort of weeded out of the submissions. You know, everyone needs to keep in mind two things: that these things are judged by faculty members, adults who probably work a 10-hour day that day, and also we have to put on a good show. You know, people are paying to come see a show, so it is about student-generated content to the hill. But I will have a mind's eye much more towards like what kind of show are we putting on for people, because we have a great fine arts tradition to keep up here.
Going off that, it's always, people always try to figure out what wins usually. Is it a comedy? Is it a great plot, a great story? What really is more important, story or humor?
Well, in terms of making it past cuts, you know, and this is only my first year, I think that there's some sense that the storylines and content, again, should be a little bit more diverse. And I will caution next year's group about, you know, following a particular formula, because then it cuts you. You're put in a heap with all the other Me Too, you know, plot lines that seem the same, right? So you have to distinguish yourself in those 7 minutes. You can do that through character. You do it through dialogue. And some humor, possibly, but you know, I think that there was some sense amongst the cuts judges that you know, there's a group that follow a particular formula, so what's the best one out of that? But I want people to take a little more risks and write things that speak to them and are interesting to them.
On Saturday, the last night Spec, you brought out Miss Vivian, the
Yes.
character from
Yes.
Murder with a Side of Fries.
Yes.
Do you plan on making that a tradition where you bring someone back from last year?
I don't know. I wouldn't be averse to it. I just saw Miss Vivian in the hallway, and she joked about it, and I said, well, let's do it. You know,
Really?
just you know, because it is a tradition, and the seniors have as much to contribute to influencing the path as anyone else. And so just knowing that not only are you vested in Junior Spec as a junior, but it's a big part of your experience here at North Central.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Excited for next year's Spec?
Yep.
This is Mr. Furiak. I'm Ben Ziliak. Good night.